me, Susan Rose. Welcome to All About Artists. And today I have my guest, Misa Chappell. And welcome to the show.
Thank you, Susan. It's great to be here.
I'm glad to have you. How does the term visual artist mean, and why do you use it to describe your work?
Yeah, visionary art is a term that existed before, and I felt like I needed to have some kind of category to name what I was doing, just because it's so much easier for marketing and the press. So from what I understand visionary art to be is not formally trained, and then something that's coming not from external observation, but from within. So that really describes my process. So I think visionary art is a suitable term because I was not trained.
Well, for not being trained, it looks like you've made quite an impression on me.
Thank you.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And Miss A is a very talented, self-taught visionary artist, and she's based in the Berkshires, if you wanted to know where she's at, and all her lovely paintings. Before I get into everything, I want to thank Dave Fabiano and Joanna Hurlbert and Nicole Brown for making this show possible. And how would you describe your artwork to somebody that doesn't know your work? How would you describe it?
That's the most dreaded question, I think, for many artists. There goes my mic. So I often describe my work as very decorative, very colorful. I would say it's very personal, a lot of patterns, and often deals with nature or the divine feminine. And that's about as descriptive as I can get.
Well, all your work seems so spiritual. I get that feeling and that earthiness that you're talking about, especially on your piece right here. That is absolutely magnificent. And you used what type of wood did you use?
So this is a piece of eastern hemlock. It was actually cut down by my neighbor, a tree on his property, and he has a mill, so he mills boards. And then the end pieces he gives to me. I don't know if this is a good idea, but you can see this would how it comes.
Oh, that's
Raw
nice.
with these beautiful patterns in the wood.
Wow.
In the wood. And so then I kind of work from those patterns. So you see this knot on this side.
Oh, yeah.
Translates to this knot on that side. So it's basically as raw as a piece of wood can get, except for it is sanded on this front. And then this part is left just really rough on purpose.
Oh, you did that on purpose. I love the top of the piece of wood, how that, it's magnificent.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It goes with it. I mean, it
part of
really
the
does,
wood.
doesn't it? I mean, it just
Yeah.
accentuates it. I just think it's
And I look
wonderful.
for those kinds of shapes, and then the shape of the wood dictates what I make. Like here, I noticed that there was a ghost in the piece with these two eyes, and then the ghost had a third eye. So I just kind of went down from that, and then there's another knot down here, which was sort of a
Almost looks like a
heart,
the heart.
or a spider, whatever.
Or a spider
I love
even.
that. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
everybody sees something different in a piece of artwork.
And
That is the magnificent thing
that's
about
great.
artwork, is that everybody sees something different or picks something out that you didn't see maybe, or, because I saw
Absolutely.
it.
And a lot of times people explain my art to me. They notice something or they make a comment, and I'll say, well, I wasn't aware of that, but you're exactly right. So that dialogue helps.
What initially inspired you to become an artist?
Well, I think that I've been an artist my whole life. I mean, I drew as a kid, and I've been a writer, and I've always been sort of visually oriented. I studied art history, but when I started making art, which was visual art, which was only about 8 years ago, it did come from a really real spiritual and emotional need. So I started working with the Madonna.
Yeah.
And I was not raised Christian or anything. It just
This is
she's sort
Madonna?
of, yes,
This one
she's
here?
iconic.
Iconic.
Yep.
Okay.
So when I first started, my mother had just died, and I really missed her, particularly, but also I missed just the sense of like maternal care and universal love and safety.
Yeah.
So I started doing Madonnas, and I did one Madonna a day for about 2 years.
I believe it.
Yeah. So and prolific,
Wow.
if nothing
Yes, I
else.
was just going to say that's very
So
prolific.
it started from some kind of need that I had.
That's very interesting. I like it. I like the way that you presented it. That way, I mean, other people, they don't know artwork that much, and it's good for some people that don't know to give that explanation.
Right.
What are your favorite subjects and why?
Well, obviously the divine feminine, as I mentioned earlier, and it started with the Madonna, and now it's branched off into more like goddess types. This is maybe more Madonna-y, but also goddesses. This is sort of the classic Virgin of Guadalupe.
Oh yeah,
That
I
was
read
that was a
that one.
stencil.
That's the one I couldn't pronounce.
Yes, Virgin of Guadalupe. So I'm really attracted to subjects of the divine feminine, the universal mother, something about the ornamentation and the symbolism that comes with a lot of Madonna paintings really appeal to me. And then also forms in nature are really important to me. I studied herbalism for a couple of years at the Blazing Star Herbal School in Conway, Mass. And the way that we were taught to observe in that class really influenced my work, as well as just the subject matter of plants and leaves and animals. And so that's always sort of underlined.
You're talking about plants and leaves. I don't know if there's some dandelions. I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. She has dandelions on her head there as a crown, and that was her artist statement underneath. But I just wanted to show you
I thought that was a
this
good.
earthiness is incredibly put also to other things that she does in her life, and so I wanted to show that. How does the idea of community reflect itself in your practicing of art?
Community is very important to me, and I think that the community I landed in the Northern Berkshires and in North Adams is really special in terms of fostering creativity and allowing for creative expression. I've lived in cities all my life, and if I had still lived in Los Angeles or in New York City or in Chicago, I don't think I would have had the confidence and the support to become an artist, to put, because you have to put yourself out there
You do.
and be vulnerable.
Correct.
And when I moved to North Adams, it seemed like there were so many artists, it was almost like a normal thing. And so that really supported me. I remember the first party I went to in North Adams, and I was kind of nervous, and I didn't know anyone. I was working at Matsumoka, so they were my coworkers. But when I got there, I noticed that half the people had out sketch pads and were just drawing. And I thought that was so great that that's like something normal people do here.
Right.
So they sit around and they be creative together. And later I became a part of the Common Folk Artist Collective, which is a group of local artists, a collective that's located in downtown North Adams. So that's
Yes,
very community oriented.
yes, I've been there. It's lovely.
Yeah, we have a
And
shop
as
on
a matter of fact, there's a tam that I bought there, a hat that somebody,
the raspberry beret.
I should have worn it.
Yes, I remember that was a great one, made by a local artist,
Yeah.
Jan Aviles.
So there's all types of, art.
Yes.
And you could even see in clothing, it's art.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
it's a nice store that you have there, especially the storefront. You can see the artists that she has. Is that for the month, or you have somebody up
The
for?
exhibits are usually up for 2 months at a time, depending, some longer, some shorter. But the goal is really to support emerging and local artists in whatever kind of creative expression they feel like they want to express. So, yeah, it's a big range, but it's all sort of the glue is creativity and community.
It seems like you spent a lot of time with Common Folk and to get it going, and
Yes.
you got a lot of donations and correct.
Yeah, so I was the curator at Common Folk for maybe 7 years. Common Folk, first of all, is one of the first group of artists that I met when I moved to North Adams, so I consider myself lucky. I met them at one of their open mics at the now defunct Parlor Cafe. But yeah, so I've worked closely with Common Folk for a really long time, showing my own artwork, but also doing other exhibits, not just at Common Folk, but at businesses around, some restaurants. We did Public, a restaurant in Pittsfield, things in Bennington, different storefronts.
You had a lot of shows.
Dispensary, yep.
Yeah, there's a list that I have, but I figured you would be able to comment on those, and I'm glad you did. What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered as a working artist?
I am sure I'm not alone in saying that self-promoting and marketing is really hard. I feel like it's almost anathema to an artist's personality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to do it. And I resent being held hostage by Facebook and Instagram, but that's where most of the people see my work. That's where and how I sell most of my work. But it's challenging, and right now I'm in the middle of building a website, and just the time and focus it takes, not to mention the money. It's draining, but no one else is here to do it for you, so it's sort of like a necessary evil.
Okay. How important is the process in your artwork, and how does your art practice fit with your real life?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. So my art practice is my life. I have a part-time job up on the mountain, but I'm lucky enough just to be able to stay home and work on my art. I am very prolific, but it's not necessarily a matter of discipline. It's almost more like a compulsion. So when people are like, oh, you're so disciplined and you work so hard, it's kind of like, well, no, I have to. Like, it's almost like a tick. So I consider my art practice and my life to be one and the same. And I'm glad you asked about process, because that's very, very important to me.
It is.
Yeah, and it's almost more important than the finished work. Um, and the way I start is usually with the material. So the last exhibit I had at Rania in Northampton last month, I called Wildwood, and I used all pieces of found or salvaged wood. So
That
I
must have
started with the
been
materials and then built from
beautiful.
that. Yeah, so this piece, and
Put
as I
that-
mentioned, I looked at the knots and the patterns in the wood, and that dictated the flow and the shapes.
I love it.
So this is another, this is a piece of a scrap from the log cabin that my husband and I
Oh,
built
that's right. You built a log cabin.
up on Florida Mountain. Yeah, so this
Wonderful.
is some of the walls, and I took all the little scraps and squirreled them away and have been using them. So this is a tongue and groove
Oh, yeah.
piece of white pine. This is a piece of wood from a old piano factory that Alicia Canary moved into, and she's an artist, and she was turning it into a studio and getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff. I said, "Oh, you have wood," so I ran over there and scored a bunch of pieces. This a friend of mine
That's
found in the woods and thought I'd like it, and she was right. I did. So people are now like giving me things.
to work on.
Yeah, yeah.
The
These
earth.
pieces are also from my neighbor. They're poplar, also cut down on his own land. And then another material that I'm really interested in and excited about is slate. So this is a piece of slate. It's on
It
from a
looks so
roofing
smooth.
tile.
It makes it so smooth.
Yeah, you
looking,
get this
doesn't it?
really kind of almost like enamel-y
Yeah.
texture. So I do a lot of pieces on slate, and I'm attracted to the textures and the shapes of the material, but also the sense of history that they carry. Like I think about like the hidden life of objects, like where they were before or where they're going to be
That's
later.
right.
So like with these things, these are these duck decoys that I found at a flea market in Wilmington, and I decided to paint over them. And I just love to think that these were once floating on a
Yeah.
pond, trying to lure innocent duckies into be shot. So and now they're these great kind of pieces of work. So I'm really interested in sort of the inner life, the transformation, the longevity of the object. Yeah, so it's inspiring.
It certainly is. You get a lot of stuff.
I know.
Wow, and they're so beautiful. I'm so glad you could come. Describe what happens when you sit down to make a piece of art. People would love to know that. What, you know?
That's a great question. So, you know, it's really kind of without fanfare. I never start with a sketch or a design. I don't do any underpainting or drawing. I just jump right in. I'm using whatever's, you know, the latest thing I'm enamored of, whether it's wood or slate or, you know, lawn sculptures or whatever. And then I just kind of work with the material and my own inner landscape. I go right in with the colors and move from there. When I'm doing a goddess or a Madonna, I usually start with the face, with the eyes, and then each thing that I put down leads me to the next thing. So it's very kind of organic, but it's not in no way planned out.
What kind of materials are you attracted to? And what is your relationship to the material you use in your art?
Yeah, so alongside the natural materials and the salvage materials, I also do a lot of rocks and shells, which are really fun. I like doing little teeny baubles and things like that.
That's right. I've seen some of those.
The shells.
The
and,
shells,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I
because
think
I'm
you
always doing
asked- I think you
something.
asked if anybody had any to save them for you.
Yes, and I
Right.
always order the shellfish at a restaurant.
Oh, good idea.
I'm that weirdo who's like, can I take my shells home? And so I do a lot of little shells and stuff. But I think the medium that I started with was paper, and that's probably my first love. There's just such a range of different kinds of paper, and I love the way it absorbs the material and interacts with the material. So, I mean, I could just take a book of watercolor paper and be delighted with filling it up.
Swimming
So-
in it, huh?
Oh yeah, just jumping in and loving it. So I think my first love is paper, but I'm definitely interested in a wide range of materials.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, I'll say.
Yeah, it's very curiosity
Yeah,
driven.
it is. Very.
So in some things I'll, hey, this looks great, this looks fun, I want to paint it, and I'll try, and it just, doesn't hold the paint, or it doesn't look right, or
Right.
it doesn't, yeah, and so then I move on. But usually I find some way to kind of
Put it
bring
all,
it out.
make
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any goals as an artist, and what would you like to learn?
Yeah, another great question. So my goals, I mean, some of the practical short-term goals are to get my website going, which would include like a shop function, because as it is now, people who are interested in my work see something online and then they email or text me, and then we arrange it that way. But I'd love to have that more automated, where people can go to a place and see different images and then click, 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 boom. So I'm working on that. But another one of my goals is just to learn as many techniques and skills as I can. And one thing that I've never done yet is work with oil paints, and I'm really excited.
Oh, oil, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't dry very fast. I always
I'm
used to
very
use
impatient.
acrylics because they
Yes.
dry. But oil, it's got to
Acrylics and
be.
pen and watercolor, paint pens, gel pens. Yeah, but I haven't really gone deep into oils, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh,
I don't know
good.
when,
Can't
but it's
wait to see it.
definitely,
I'll
yeah.
see it on Facebook for sure.
Oh, yes, yes, I'm always posting.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, anything that I can learn. I've taken a printing class, I've done some botanical artwork classes, I took a bookmaking class. I'm just a sponge. I
You
want to
are.
learn it all.
That good.
Yes.
Because that's how I am. Just don't go above and just dive right in.
Yep.
And tell us about this mural. Show us a.
Yeah. So this mural, I was hired to put together for the Wigwam Western Summit, which is a historic site and now a cafe and gift shop and hotel up on just past the hairpin turn on Route 2. So it's kind of a scenic place. And we live very close to there. And the owner, Leah King, asked me if I could do a mural for their new sugar shack. So they were building this maple sugar shack, and she wanted to have this kind of selfie mural so someone could stand like right in there. And
And
then
do
the
a selfie
wings,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
wings.
So that's kind of the popular thing now.
wonderful.
Yeah, so I did this with Becky Waterhouse. We did it together, and then there were other structures on the rest of their property, including this sign and then these little cement blocks. So I got in a bunch of artists from Common Folk to help me with it. So each artist took different blocks, and then I took over this little back sign thing. So the whole property is almost like a sculpture park now for Common Folk. And that was really fun, and that actually led to this mural in downtown Adams. Same owner, Leah King, bought the 57 Park Street building. And among other things, there is a gift shop and a bubble tea shop. And she wanted a mural down the side of her building. So again, I sort of engineered it. I, helmed it, and then hired a bunch of other artists Katie Haig really worked with me closely on this one and did a lot of the work. So it was me and about, I'd say 10 other artists, and
I
we all
love the
worked together.
colors.
And yeah, you could see,
Look
you
at
can
all the
definitely
lovely
see it's
colors.
my project to begin with
Yes,
because,
I can see that.
the colors,
Definitely,
the huge
definitely.
flowers, like I just jumped right in and made these huge roses, and that
Wow.
kind of set the tone. Um, but again, just bringing in community, getting to know Adams a little bit, just so interesting and rewarding. And this is the original sketch for it, and this is how it came
Oh,
out.
oh my goodness.
Katie Haig did this sketch, so it came out a little differently, which I love. I mean, it was very, again, that organic, like let's see what happens kind of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Um, what do you think? I think one of the last questions is what do you think about artificial intelligence in the art world? We got 2 minutes left.
Well, you know, I don't really understand it. I've had fun. Oh, now my hair's all messed up. I've had
That was
fun
fun.
playing with like AI, like with your portrait photos. Like I've made myself as
Really?
like an ancient Viking and stuff like that. But that's just for my own amusement. In terms of
Yeah.
like
I mean, what is it
making
doing to
art,
what is it doing to the art world? How is it influencing it? Um, uh, I see sometimes on Facebook where there's a piece of artwork that's, I don't mean not so good, but then all of a sudden AI filter on it and it turns into this magnificent piece of, I don't know what you would call it.
yeah.
So I was hoping that AI doesn't take away some of the stuff that artists have been doing all their lives.
Yeah, and that is a concern that people talk about, but I am absolutely convinced that nothing could ever take away the physical hand of the artists. And you even said, once the filters are on, it's like looks like, it's almost too
It's
too
gaudy.
real to be real.
It's too
Yeah,
real.
almost
Gaudy.
yeah, so I think that no matter how much AI becomes a part of our lives, there will always be that ineffable human quality, that spirit that you can't take away.
No.
I worry about what it means for us financially if people are going to stop buying art, but people will always be making art.
Well, it was really nice to have you here today.
It's great to be here.
Maybe you can come again.
I would love
because
to.
you're so prolific. We'll have a whole new scenery here to show
Yeah,
everybody.
yep. And I certainly have a lot to
So,
say.
folks, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I